What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down, what really moved it and what shorts did. Before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So NIO did close 2.54% in the green, $4 the low, 415 the high. So you did see NIO somewhat lag, and at the same time you also did see rather low volume today. So 27.9 million shares being traded, 56.8 is the average. So you did also see at the same time a certain level of hesitation coming from institutions really buying the NIO dip. Couple big attributing factors what moved the market higher was data points. So we did have early this morning non-farm payroll and unemployment, both coming in line or a little bit higher than anticipated. So very good stuff. Market loved it and just ran with it. Prior to that though, what came out after hours yesterday was this. So more of a little bit optimism associated to China and the States. And I believe even throughout the day there was some further discussion kind of points that were kind of disclosed on social media. But nonetheless, it looks as though that China and the States are truly talking. In the past, we've had the States saying that they've made a lot of progress, and then China just kind of saying, hey, we're not even talking. So this did come from both countries today that they are talking. So that's kind of a good thing. Market really moved higher, but NIO, in all honesty, was lagging. So I would have anticipated, based on just that news about possibly a reduction in tariffs, to have a bigger impact. But there was, like I said, a little bit of a, I guess, boy who cried wolf type of scenario. But no official news from NIO itself today, no SEC filing, so it did piggyback off of the broader market. There was this article that came out just showing that within the first couple of days of the 𝗪𝗧𝗪 launch, there was 231 vehicles kind of delivered. So pretty good. I don't know if that's good to really digest that number and take that for face value or anything, but still it goes to show that there's a certain level of demand. Previous articles did insinuate that, I guess, the test drives coming from China are like completely backed up. So a lot of good demand. So hopefully NIO's able to really capitalize on that, as well as in Europe as well. But aside from that though, not really much coming out from NIO itself. Shorts did return 2.91 million shares, 12.85% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 204.31 million shares. What was very odd today is when it comes down to options, with today being Friday, you did have potentially shorts and market makers having an opportunity to really manipulate NIO, because like I said, big money wasn't really kind of buying the dip. So very low volume, and whenever you do have typically low volume, it's somewhat easy to manipulate. But shorts took the opportunity to return, so that does mean 13,000 at that $4 strike price and then 2,000 at that 350 are considered in the money. So pretty good stuff. So that might give a little bit of a bump up come next week. So something to kind of keep in mind, and stay tuned for my video over the weekend where I go over some expectations and everything else. But based on today, you did have 1.37 million in calls, 2.13 in puts, 40% of all the options being done today were bullish in nature. So even though big money wasn't really getting in or anything, you did see a certain level of optimism coming from the options. So pretty good for that. Based on today, you had 3.4 million in total premiums, 1.8 obviously yesterday, and then 1.8 the day prior. So a little bit more attention coming from, I guess, towards options rather than the stock itself. From the bulls, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 450 for next week, and then the bears for it to be sub 4. So potentially a little bit more upside is anticipated, so something to keep in mind. These are all the transactions that did occur on the dark pool above $100,000. So a couple big ones to take note of: 1.4, 1.5, 1.45. Shorts often enough use the dark pool as well as market makers. So that right over here, the in the money options, so that 13,000 and then the 2,000, so it works out to be around 1.5 million shares do need to be covered by market makers. maybe some of that is being done through the dark pool. So normally you don't get these kind of abnormal transactions, so something to keep in mind. But aside from that, with it closing at 403, trading between this R1 and the pivot, so 420 is going to be a key point to really watch for going forward. And then aside from that though, no new analyst ratings or anything, no articles really coming out about NIO, so it was purely just piggybacking off of the broader market. But we've seen the broader market very optimistic, and NIO still closed in the red. So all in all, I'm not going to complain about this green close, because green is green at the end of the day. So when it comes down to NIO over the last 5 days though, it still did go down 7.25%. So a lot of room for it to really move higher. So if there is a deal announced over this weekend, then you'll definitely see a nice pickup when it comes down to NIO. Couple key points to really watch for on the actual chart though, with it closing at that $4.03, it is trading between these 2 points right here, so right below that ALMA, so that is at $4.15, and then 50-day moving average at 417. So just watch for the news over the weekend just on some further updates, because like I said, for the first time in a very long time, you kind of have now China and the States seeming as though that they both want to figure out a deal in some way or another. And it could be because of as well what came out from Apple, saying that 97.3 or 0.6% of all their iPhones were made last quarter in India. So maybe the kind of China is getting a little bit jealous, and they don't want India to take any of their manufacturing or anything away from them. So maybe you might see a deal coming sooner rather than later. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Hopefully everyone has a kick-ass weekend ahead of them. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon. I get buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Definitely worthwhile to pop over and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.